Another sealed only episode. I need to make sure that I record for this, and then we gotta buy Rise of the Duelist. I'm gonna need some Eternity Code, and we still gotta buy a gold Sartin for Savage Dragon. Alright then. Well, this would have been so much easier if we were playing sealed only some more. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this deck anymore.
Giving up on the deck already? I expected more from you, artist.
Wait, who said that?
You have much to learn. I think it is time we work together.
What the?
So that's pretty much it. I can talk. Doesn't that pretty much explain everything?
No, that actually doesn't explain anything at all. How does that even work? I mean, why do you even sound like me just doing a really bad Chinese accent? Like, what's up with that?
That's neither here nor there. The main focus is building the Ancient Warrior deck to be as strong as possible. And what we're going to need to do that is actually getting help outside of our archetype. We must have a fiery ambition in order to defeat our opponents. Do you understand?
So, we need to open up Cosmo Blazer. Alright. Alright, so we have 3 boxes of Cosmo Blazer here, and the main card that we're looking for in this entire thing is Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Raven. Thanks to Sun Mou telling us that we need to ally ourselves with a little bit more characters and add them into our decks. We're really just going to try to see how much we can mix up this current Ancient Warriors build and see what type of versatility it has, not only being Beast Warrior, but also allowing itself to kind of like get into some of the different attributes that we can utilize. Thanks to Eternity Code, there are some Fire Beast Warrior monsters that we can use, most notably including Zhang Yuan, as well as the Sao De and the Jia Wen. But looking at what we have on our field, or not necessarily on our field, but with our current deck, we do necessarily need some cards to add some of the cards that we can get some resources for. So I know that might sound a bit confusing. Of course, we have our 2 promo cards here, but we do have an essential about 9 packs that we do need to open. So we're really just going to try to see what we can pull out of some of these. Again, we're either looking for Raven and or Tenki. Most Heraldic Beasts, Dirac Impact, we have a Hazy Pillar, we have a ZW Lightning Blade for Utopias, oh, and a sort of ultimate rare in Heart Earth, number 53 Heart Earth Dragon. We do have a Fire Fist, but I don't think that we can use that one, but it might be good to hold on to. Anyway, we'll kind of toss that first one down. Granted, getting an ultimate rare is actually still pretty cool, seeing as how that's a rarity that isn't necessarily continued anymore. Hope we can get a few more. After the Storm, an interesting lore card now that we know about a little bit more about the ice barriers. Getting a Hazy Flame Manticore is another sort of Beast Warrior, Beast Fire card, but we can't really use any of these. And I think that that's, again, really just bringing it back to what we need to focus on, which is, of course, our Ravens and our Tenkis. Now, at the time of recording this, Phantom Rage is already out, and Blazing Vortex should be coming out within the next few weeks. We do need to actually get a lot of the Tri-Brigade cards, so we're kind of running significantly behind. However, that does give me a lot of sort of impetus to make not only more videos, but also really to just push things forward in regards to the current deck build. We were thinking about adding certain cards such as Hasty Horse and Canine Tar and maybe some of the Dangers, but I think that since the Tri-Brigades are out currently, we don't necessarily need some of those other cards. Now, I moved 2 to the front, and I still looked at it in either way, so it's not like it's going to help. We have After the Storm, Pyromech Shinryu, Dirac Impact, Dododo Bot, Infernity Archer, Heraldic Eagle, and Spellwall, and it's not really looking good. I have possibly 2 more packs here, and then 3 in that third box there, which is my chances of getting the card that I need, there we go, that's one. My chances of getting the cards that I need are very slim, but we're able to pull off the one, whatchamacallit, we're able to pull off the one Raven. We do have the 10 keys back from the Fist of the Gadget opening. I think that might have been episode 6? I'm not exactly sure. You guys are going to have to let me know. But we do have enough 10 keys here. The only thing that we do need is Raven, because Raven helps us get the 10 keys. For those of you that know why we kind of took so long to get this set instead of getting, it at the start of the thing, then you'll understand why we're currently purchasing this. Now, we do still need another Raven. We need at least 2. So we're going to hold on and hope to see that we can get one in here. And again, I don't know, what do you guys think? You think we should sell that ultimate rare? Let me know in the comments down below if we should get rid of that ultimate rare Heart Earth. So we'll look at the promos. Blade Armor Ninja. There might be a sealed only ninja deck or something. Maybe we'll have to make a ninja deck profile. But either way, we have 3 chances here. Let's hope that we get something good. Again, we're still looking for the Raven. For context, watch the Fist of the Gadgets video just to understand why we got the 10 keys but not the Ravens. And it doesn't matter because we got the second Raven. So we're all set. That's it. We can open up the rest of these packs. We also have another 10 key, which is really good, but we don't need it at this point. It's a common 10 key, but you know what? I'll take it nonetheless. 2 Ravens finishes up our thing. The rest of these are kind of just like celebratory packs, so let's see what we can pull. ZW Ultimate Shield, followed by Star Drawing, Heraldic Beast Basilisk, Bushfire Knight. We also have a Heraldic Charge, Spear Shark, Beast Eagle, and a Spell Wall. That seems very similar to the pack that we opened up before. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. I feel like, Konami might be stacking some of these special editions. Also, rest in peace for special editions not coming back. Tensu we can definitely use. Midnight Sky we have. That's not useful for us. Hazy Flame. We also have a Gagaga Charge there as well. So, all in all, we did get some good cards here. And I think that looking at our pull, we have a Spirit, possibly for some Synchro plays a little bit later. But we did get the cards that we needed, which were, of course, the 2 Ravens. And we do have a number 53 Heart Earth. But I don't think that I can use that card at all. So of course we're going to keep our Sun Mous. I think that that's another card that we're going to have a staple. Zhuge Kang as well as our Ancient Warriors here, our Zhang Yuan, and our Liu Xuans. Now of course we're only going to be running the 2 of them, but we're going to keep Jia Wen and Zhuge Kang as well as Lu Jing. And then, as our hand traps, we're going to keep our Ash Blossoms, but we're actually going to start by taking out our Ghost Ogre, as well as our 2 Kaijus. Now, this kind of contradicts the old way that we would play, meaning that normally we would have most cards leading up to Sun Mou, and then if we had Gameciel, we could send the Gameciel back to our hand. However, there's a lot more Ancient Warrior cards that are out recently, and I think that it's actually necessary for us to take out some of the cards that were there really as support, but right now they're not really doing much to assist us in the long term. So Gameciel, Snow Rabbit, you guys have served us well, but now it's time for you guys to rest. Moving on to the spells, I think we're going to take out our Mind Control, but keep our Monster Reborn. We also have our 2 Cosmic Cyclones, and we need to pick up a 3rd, so we're going to try to see if we can figure out where and when to get that 3rd one. Call by the Grave, even though it's already at 1, we'll just keep just in case. We do have a lot of Super Poly targets, so it's going to be necessary for us to keep these cards in the deck, as well as our Fire Formation cards, but I think we're actually going to limit what we have only down to the 1 Tensu and take out the other one. Keeping in our 3 Visits, of course, that's the card that we're really going to still need to play as we continue to have most of our format. Of course, Ancient Warrior Saga Borrowing of Arrows is another great card that we've added recently, and I think that we're going to want to keep in because it really assists how the deck runs. And of course, our 3 10 keys followed by our Ancient Warrior Saga, Sun Liu Alliance. Moving on to our traps, we're actually going to keep the 3 Changban Bridges, but we're taking out the Royal Decrees, realizing that, this format isn't really trap heavy, and I think as we move forward into the eventual future of the deck, we're probably not going to be running any traps save for one of the traps that we're actually going to be replacing this card with. So let's see what we have. Currently this would leave us at about, looking at my deck, that'd leave me at about 34? Probably 33 cards. So we have to replace at least 7, but I think we're also going to update the actual number of cards in the deck to 42 for now. Anyway, aside from that, we're going to keep most of our extra deck. Most of these cards are going to stay, the Super Poly targets. Black Rose Dragon is actually really good, but Big Eye, we didn't even really get a chance to use him. He's going to be taking a break for now. Tiger King, we're actually going to get a rarity upgrade if we are able to pull out that Coach Soldier Wolfbark from one of the 2014 tins. So here's to hoping for that. But Tiger King, this one will actually stay in our deck for now until we get that Platinum Rare upgrade, which I think personally really looks just like the Starlight Rares. Of course, we're running Tornado Dragon, we have Silent Honor Arc, and Abyss Dweller, and I think that for the sake of this, we're actually going to take out our Tornado Dragon as well. We'll keep the Abyss Dweller, although, again, this gold rare, man, oof, this isn't looking too good, especially considering that we have the new golds rares that are coming out. Oh, I can't wait. Voralo Dragon's also going to stay, as well as Nightmare Cerberus, Darumidal, and Lampharinkus, but we're also going to be adding in some cards based on the cards that we just recently pulled. I still hope that I'll be able to either pull Boral's Sword, whether it be in the expanded gold format, or if we're able to just get one, I don't know how. That's probably the only way from the maximum gold format is to get the upgraded version here. So let's see what cards we're actually going to be replacing them with. Coming from Dual Overload, this is way back when, we're going to be putting in our 2 Infinite Impermanences. Now this card in particular is really going to help us out, really just negate and stop our opponent from doing plays. When we consider the fact that we were only running Royal Decree to stop our opponent from playing traps, it's like we're either going against really heavy traps or really heavy effects. So this card's still going to go in our side deck, but Infinite Impermanence is going to be one of the cards that we're instead going to have as our main stay if we're running it alongside our hand traps such as Ash Blossom. So Infinite Impermanence is going to go into the deck, and that's really going to limit it for the traps that we have. In regards to the spells, we're going to include a Dark Ruler No More. It's only one for now, but until the Charmer Structure deck comes out, we're going to be running this one as a one-of. Eventually we want to have 3 of these, so that way we can kind of phase out our infinites, but we might keep them both depending on the playability or the overall sort of usability of them. We're going to put in a Fire Formation Ingen, and this is going to be one of the cards that we're running kind of as a twofer. Now, Ingen itself allows us to go into Swan a lot easier than having just the Super Poly and then forcing us to discard a card. Ingen also has a second effect where if it's sent to the graveyard, we can add one Fire Fist monster from our graveyard back to our hand. So this has a lot of recursion with the new cards that we just pulled. Speaking of Fire Fist, we're going to include a lot more Fire Fist cards into the deck since we've taken out the Gamma Seal as well as the Ghost Ogre. Starting off first with Fire Fist Rooster and Fire Fist Ram. Now Rooster states that I can actually send one Fire Formation spell card from my field to the graveyard to activate another one from my deck with a different name. So we can switch out Ingen for Tenki or Tensu for Tenki. Basically, we're switching cards out for Tenki. Ram also has another similar effect where if I have a Fire Formation card, I can discard one card and then target that spell or trap card and set a card with a different name from my hand. So we can discard to get another Tenki, we can discard to get Tensu, or if we don't have Ingen on the field, we can discard to go for Ingen as well. And both of these cards, again, have synergy with Ingen, where if Ingen's sent to the grave, we can bring them back to our hand. But we kind of want to keep them in the grave because we're adding an actual tuner into our deck alongside the hand traps in Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Spirit. This card will allow us to then bring back our Ram or our Rooster if they're sent to the graveyard, and then we can Synchro Summon out for potentially a Horse Prince that we're going to need in the future. Now, if we're not able to pull Horse Prince, then there's possibly another Synchro that we're going to need down the line, but we'll really have to see what we can do with that type of monster. Of course, the 2 cards that we were able to pull, Fire Fist Raven is going to be a necessary add-on into the deck. And we might actually add a third, depending on the type of cards that we're going to need, or rather the type of cards that we're going to add with him. When he's sent to the graveyard, we're allowed to go into a Fire Fist, or rather Fire Formation spell card. Plus, he'll also work with some of the other cards that we have. So, if we send him to the graveyard with the added effect of Sun Mou, we'll again be able to go into the cards that we need. We also have some other Link monsters that we'll be able to use now that we're adding in at least 5 Fire Formation cards into the deck. And then, that's going to really kind of continue into our extra deck, which starting off first includes Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Peacock. Now this card is very, very specific, so we might feel iffy about running it. But what it does do is it actually allows me to sort of get some of the cards that I need, especially if I can send a Fire Formation spell card to the graveyard and then target one monster my opponent controls and take control of that. I can then link this off with another monster for possibly a link 3 or a link 4 if I want to go into Borreload. So very, very specific, but it kind of works out in the long run. Since we're running a link monster, since we're running a tuner, and since we also have the hand traps as well, we're going to add Crystron Needle Fiber and potentially, or rather hopefully, get a Savage Dragon in the future. It's really going to be one of the cards that we're kind of going to be running so-so, as our Ancient Warrior deck does tend to turn into more of a extra deck heavy, reliant type of playstyle. Now keep in mind, when you're playing Ancient Warriors, you can actually play them pure, and they work as a really, really good combatant against the current meta. If you play them with the extra deck playstyle, as I'm trying to kind of like shift us towards, you just have to be mindful, because most players are running Dogmatica, that this is not necessarily the type of card that you want to have on your side of the field. So really just cater your playstyle depending on what your opponent has, and make sure that you always side out some of the cards if you don't necessarily need them. Finally, bringing it down to our last two cards, we're going to be running one Brotherhood of the Fireface Eagle. We were able to pull him out of Fist of the Gadgets, and I think this card is still a little bit on the expensive side. But he actually has a much better effect than Peacock, and I think that this is why we're kind of iffy about running either him or Peacock. And I think just by thinking about that, I'm going to move Peacock to the side just for now, and we'll keep Eagle in as kind of like our mainstay. What he will allow me to do is he'll allow me to send one Fire Formation, or rather Fire Fist monster, from my deck to the graveyard, and then I can add one Fire Fist or Fire Formation spell or trap from my graveyard back to my hand. So I can either get another Tenki, I can get Tensu or Ingen back to my hand, and all I'll have to do is just send one of my 5 Fire Formation cards to the graveyard to get it. And finally, we're running one Salamangreat Almirage. Almirage is the card that I think that I wanted to run really only because of Brotherhood. But now that we think about it, Almirage is actually a really, really good card to have in those very specific situations, especially when we're going to need to use it alongside Raven. If we normal summon out Raven, we can send it for Almirage and then get our other Fire Formation spell card, such as a Tensu, and then we'll also have some destruction protection with Almirage still being on the field. We also still have Lanpharinkus and Nightmare Cerberus, so we can link off our Almirage into something else that we would need. So looking at what we have here, I think that we have 15, but I'm going to do just another count check just to make sure that we have everything that we need. And this is kind of going to be where that montage video comes in, where we'll eventually see what the deck looks like in its final format, and then we'll get into some online duels. So stay tuned. Alright, so we're looking at about 3 different duels here, and the first one here is going to be kind of interesting because we're going up against some sort of like BA Amazonas Tanuki deck, and I'm not really able to even set up any of the new cards or combos, but we may perhaps find a way to get around this. However, I don't think that first game should really even count. For this round, then, we're going to start off first by summoning Sun Mou, and since we do have the new Zhuge Kong card that we just got, we're able to special summon it, and I really have to just say that I definitely slept on this card. I didn't realize how good Zhuge Kong was, because he not only lets me negate spell or trap cards, but he'll also let me negate monster effects if I have an Ancient Warrior Lu Xuan. So even against a deck like this sort of Dogmatica Invoked, we're kind of able to hold our own relatively closely, even though I don't think that this duel is also going to end in the best way possible, just because of the Pancratops and then, of course, the Dogmatica Ecclesia. Now, It's still 2021, so folks are still summoning out Alistair. And I guess, granted, this video was recorded last year, so Alistair is not necessarily not an older combo, but this is just something that we're not necessarily like. It's just something that's not good for us to run into. So anyway, we're able to sort of come back. We get the Lu Xuan, and Lu Xuan then helps us set up with Sun Mou because we're sending our Borrowing of Arrows, which is another card that I definitely slept on too. So with both Lu Xuan and Sun Mou, we're able to set up a lock. As long as I don't activate any effects, we're kind of at this standstill. So I'm holding my own with 1100, and thankfully, because he still has more monsters in me, I'm able to kind of still go into some other things. We're able to pull it off by not only getting Guan Yun, but also summoning out Zhang Yuan, and I have no idea how we wiped that field. In fact, I feel like I need to watch this replay back one more time just to make sure that I'm looking at everything correctly. But we take the duel, so I'll take that. Next up, it looks like we have, I believe this might be a rematch, and we're still going to try to run with our format, sending the Super Poly with Sun Mou just to get the Zhang Yuan just in case. This is going to be kind of like the standard bread and butter until we get some of the other cards. Now next turn I draw into Lu Xuan, so we already set up our lock, and the only thing that I need to do now is just wait until I get either some of the spell cards that I need, or just wait until I get maybe another monster. But with the Sun Liu Alliance, we're able to also get another boost, and we take that game as well. Now I know that the recordings here are going fairly fast, and I think that as we add more videos, that's going to be something that's not necessarily going to be included in the further things. So we're still going to have live duels. I just feel like I'll slow down the recordings, that way you guys can see some more of the plays, and that way I'm not narrating over like really fast gameplay. I also want to include some remote duel stuff because we did get some recordings, and I think that this deck, while it is good to run it on an online simulator, the only way that I'm going to really learn how to master the art of the Ancient Warriors is by playing it in person. And really understanding timing against some of the more meta-relevant decks is going to be my goal as we improve the deck and as we get some new sets. So I believe we're still running kind of a gauntlet with this one duelist. We won the last game thanks to Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, and we're still running this the way that we need to, and thankfully Super Poly is still kind of one of those cards that we can still utilize. Starting off with a fairly decent hand, at least 3 Beast Warriors and an Ingen. This is kind of where you can decide what to do, but this is one of those things where it's like going first is good, but it's also not something that you want to always constantly be doing. Having the Lu Xuan in my hand alongside Rooster and Jia Wen is going to be good to set up if I was going second, but Rooster by himself, not the best card. I'm kind of just going to have to go into Swan just for the sake of defending, and then maybe we'll have to just include something else. Unfortunately, I sent the wrong 2 cards. I should have sent Rooster to the graveyard, because that way if Ingen was sent to the grave, I would have been able to at least get rid of it to get Rooster back. But I'm going to activate his effect instead, thus sending Ingen to the grave to then add 10 key, and 10 key will allow me to then search, and hopefully if I survive a turn, then I'll be going for Sun Mou to potentially set up some sort of bounce on the next turn. Infinite Impermanence is kind of the only thing that's saving me during this turn, so I'm kind of gonna hope on a prayer that Imperm does something, but I also do have the added effect of Swan, which will allow me to get rid of any of my Fire Formation spell or traps, and I can destroy a card during the battle phase. It also helps that it gives them an extra 100 attack points, thus making Rooster, I believe, about 1600, and then the Swan gets the additional 100, which makes him 27. So next turn, if Tenki stays on the field, that's going to be the card that I'm going to want to send. However, I can also use Rooster's effect just to continuously send Tenki to then get another card with a different name. But he's going to go into Sarazel, and I'm going to immediately imperm it just in case he activates a card in the same column. Now here's the weird part though. He decides to activate Forbidden Lance in the same column that I'm activating imperm. So technically, Forbidden Lance should have negated, which I think it did. I think that was kind of like a pro play on my end. I just realized that like halfway through watching this recording back, and I was like, okay, you know what? We actually might be able to do this. Evil Eye Dex is definitely a playstyle that can slow down the Ancient Warriors, and even with our, let's say, future builds, it's something that I do want to make sure that I watch out for. The deck is still technically considered a rogue deck, so we need to be very, very careful about all of the different playstyles that we're going to be facing, not only in our bracket, but also making sure that we're staying on top of all of the current meta decks. And I feel like that's sort of the duality of playing something in Rogue. You have to really worry about what's happening above you and what's happening in your current state. But I feel like that sentiment can also be extended to most pro or meta relevant decks as well. You always have to constantly make sure that you're focusing on what decks are being played, what play styles are people opting to go for, and utilizing your deck in the best way possible to either not necessarily have an out for every situation, but to really just be versatile in case things like this happen where your board gets cleared. So my turn, I do draw Lu Xuan, and I have Lu Xuan and Sun Mou. However, they're not both on the field, so this is not the ideal hand to have, at least this late in the game. I do have the 10 key on in the spell and trap card zone, so I can either send it with Lu Xuan's effect or Sun Mou's. But either way, if it gets negated thanks to Sarazel, then that's kind of it for my play. So I'm gonna have to hope that Lu Xuan can pop off, or I can either go for Sun Mou and hope to get the Zhuge Kang. Now, we still need to get our big Shuang Long, aka double Dragon Lords, so if we're not able to get that card, then we're kind of screwed. If we do survive this turn, I do have another possible play. I can summon out Lu Xuan and then tribute himself to get another Ancient Warrior monster, but unfortunately I'm deciding not to run Sao De, and that would be the big boss monster that we could go for that could potentially get us, you know, just a plethora of extra cards. I could also go for Zhang De, and Zhang De would be probably the best card just to run over most of what's happening here, but we're really just going to have to see. I don't really recall what I played at this point. It really kind of just comes down to what I draw. So he has two dark monsters, we do have the Super Poly, we're able to activate it off, thus going for Starving Venom, getting rid of both of his two dark monsters. And Starving Venom might actually save me the game. And this is really, really funny because I really opted to take Super Poly out in the future builds because I didn't think that it was going to be a versatile card or a necessary card depending on the current meta. But I think it's interesting that it's working thus far, and I feel like as a good side deck mechanic, it's going to be something that I might hold on to for just a little bit longer. Now he has about 2,000 life points left, so if he's able to do something to defend himself, then he can potentially come back, but it looks like that's the end of the phase, so I'm going to just go in for the 10 key just to maybe bait whatever card he might have face down. It doesn't seem like he has anything, just in case. I mean, I could add Raven and summon it, but I think that this is pretty much game. I'm going to summon out the Raven in attack position, enter battle phase, but he surrenders before we're able to do our damage, so we call the GG, and that is the game. We're able to take it with Starving Venom, and realistically, I think that that's something that we want to make sure that we're being mindful of too. What are the types of monsters that we're being played against? So, all in all, we had kind of a, I believe that was a 3-1 win streak right now. And with the current deck, we're able to really just see how much we're able to utilize its potential. Now, there are still other sets that we do need to open. We still need to open up Phantom Rage, and we also have to open up another Eternity Code because we still need to get the double Dragon Lords. Without that card, we can't necessarily extend our combos even further, and then it's going to be our main priority to get the rest of the Tri-Brigade monsters once we do get our hands on some Phantom Rage. So the deck in and of itself is moving forward. We do still have a few necessary changes that have to be made, but I think all in all, we're kind of finally getting into the groove here. And it's interesting because there's a lot of cards that I was considering running in the interim in between building this deck, but I think it's at a current stage where we can opt out of adding certain other cards just based on where the format is and what cards are currently out at this level. So that's kind of going to get ready for us to close it out. I hope that you guys enjoyed this this return to form per se with the videos coming out. I know that there's going to be a little bit of corrections in some of the audio here, and really I just want to get some feedback on this. So whatever you guys think about what's going on with the Sealed Only series, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, as always, please make sure to include them in the chat. And yeah, I'm gonna keep this like outro in because I think that it's really, really cool. But again, thank you guys all for watching. I have been the Artist with a Fro, and that, my friends, is the show.